Welcome back to the Get Off the Treadmill podcast for practice owners and leaders, where we are obsessed with how to build a successful practice and get a life too. Hi, I'm Chuck Blakeman, and we're going to dive into another topic that helps us make more money in less time, get off the treadmill, and rehumanize dentistry by giving everybody their brain back. Today I'm talking with Duffy, and she's a graduate of The Ohio State University, one of my favorite places on earth. I'm biased. And a practicing dental hygienist in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's the owner and editor and publisher of Dental Entrepreneur magazine, and it has the goal of providing new dentists with the assistance they need to maximize their careers as successful businessmen and businesswomen serving their profession. Anne's newest creation is DEW Life, or Do Life. How do you say that, Anne? We'll get to it in a minute. Do Life, or DEW Life magazine, standing for Dental Entrepreneur Woman. I love it. She's a cultural activist leading a movement to inspire, highlight, and empower all movement in dentistry. Anne, welcome to the show. And how do I say that magazine?
It's called Do.Life, or Do Life.
All right, Do.Life, Do Life. I get it, Do Life.
Do Life.
That's great. Let's do life. Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you're doing that. We'll talk about that. In fact, we're going to talk about that today, the number of female dental graduates coming up through the dental system. It's on the rise, and how will that change the face of dentistry? And it sounds like you're setting things up for success there. So let's start with the female dentist coming out of school. Where was it, like, maybe you don't know this, but where was it 20 years ago, and where is it today?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was like 1% back in the early 1900s. And so it's risen quite rapidly, or I wouldn't say rapidly, very slowly, but we're getting some momentum going right now. It's at least 52% in the class of 2019, and upward of 60% in some of the dental schools. So women are on the rise, and in the future we might be taking over dentistry.
Yeah, well, 60% you pretty much are at that point.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. So what does that mean? How does that change the face of dentistry? Aren't they all just going to help me? They're all just going to fix my teeth. What's the difference?
Well, I think that one of the things that is so appealing to women, and why I think they're flocking to dentistry, is because they see that they can have some balance with their life. They can get a doctoral degree. They can work a couple days a week, earn a doctor's salary, which is really great. And I think they have the emotional IQ to be able to treat patients. I think that's very appealing to them as well. They are caregivers. Women in generally are caregivers, I think, intuitively. And so I think dentistry really lends itself to that profession. And their hands are, when you think about all their hands are smaller. They like working with each other. They like working with women. Women like working with each other. Yeah. And you look at their teams. I mean, really, it's. I think what are the numbers? Probably 98% of a dental team is women, right? Yep. So that's a big part of it too.
And I think it's, whether it's sociological or DNA, it's probably a little bit of both, that it's attractive to women because it is a relational profession. And I think I'm a big, we work a lot on helping people figure out how to be better leaders in dentistry. And it's harder for me as a guy. And again, I don't know if it's DNA or sociology or whatever, but it's probably a little bit of both. But I do agree with you. And I think it's harder for men because women, for whatever reason, as a generalization, and you'll always find exceptions, have more emotional intelligence and more empathy. And those, I tell people today that in today's corporation and in today's dentistry, the first thing you need to hire a leader for is emotional intelligence and empathy. That's the first thing. You shouldn't even look at their resume until you find out if they have emotional intelligence and empathy. And once you figure that out, then look, you got 15 or 20 people left with high emotional intelligence and high empathy. Look at them, because it's that important. And it's not just dentistry. I'm not just, I work, I focus on dentistry, but I still get calls. Like United Airlines called us, and Google, we've worked with them a little bit. And so I work with these giant corporations and a lot of small ones here and there when I have it in the cracks, and they're all going through the same thing. And they recognize that it's not about George Patton or even Mahatma Gandhi. It's not that kind of gigantic leadership. It's the ability to listen and understand. It's a phenomenal statistic. I'm going to get it wrong, but it's something like 80+% of people at work do not feel like someone has listened or understood them in the last year. And you wonder why nobody's engaged. It's simple, hard stuff for us. So I think you're going to see a big change in that. So what will they bring? They're going to bring emotional intelligence and empathy, and they're going to teach us more about that, which will help us. What else will women bring to dentistry?
Well, I think the collaboration of working with each other, women like working with each other. They like connecting. They like relationshiping. So, it kind of goes to, actually mentorship and helping each other. So I believe they're a little bit more humble in the fact that they are willing to take help and ask for help. They don't think they know everything, and I think they're open to that. I named the magazine Dental Entrepreneur Woman. First, I wanted a sister publication for Dental Entrepreneur, but also I think all women are entrepreneurial. All women spin a lot of plates, right? And so I think men can be more laser focused. So I think with women, they can actually do a lot of things at the same time and still do them well, and know that they need help, and they're willing to take it, and they're willing to give it. So that's one thing I think that women have over the male gender. And, it's, really, we should just be reading Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, because that had pretty much explained the whole thing. And it's funny, that doesn't really change that much.
Right.
I
think it's important for some of our listeners to relax, because some of them say, but I'm not that guy. I actually do have emotional intelligence and empathy. And so, we're going to deal with generalizations today, because that's the overwhelming majority. But the reality is, I can think of a couple right now, friends of ours, who he's the emotionally intelligent and empathetic one, and she's the laser focused one. And there's going to be personality and DNA that runs into that stuff too. But I think you're absolutely onto it, that there is an overwhelming majority of women are much more this way, and men are much more that way. And we just need to relax about it. We can figure out how to help each other be more together.
Yeah, it's just fine. And I think, honestly too, Chuck, when you think about it, in today's world, there are way more men staying at home and being the caregivers. And
because they're free to do it finally. Yeah.
Earners. But that's changed in the last, really 10 years. And it's starting to, I think, rise in the statistics of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever works for each person. But I think, women are starting to feel more power in their bones, and it's just that society is lifting them up, and girls are learning they can do anything they want, and they can get the t-shirts now. You start them very young to say, hey, listen, you just, whatever you want, you can achieve if you work hard and do the right things. So
that's awesome. One of the things that you just brought up that I think is fascinating is that some women are figuring out they can get a doctoral level degree, work 2 or 3 days a week, and get a really great salary out of it, and be able to do multiple things, have the family if they want to focus on that, as well as the dentistry. I had not thought of that angle in the past, and I'm guessing there's guys out there figuring the same thing out, that they don't have to be the person who owns the practice. They can have some woman who owns it, or some other guy who owns the practice, and they could work 2 or 3 days a week. That's brilliant.
Yeah, you either want to own your own practice or you don't. You want to be an entrepreneur, or you don't. And you can do both good dentistry in either arena, I think. So the big corporate group practices and things like that, I think they have a lot to offer. I don't think they're evil by any stretch.
No. I work with I've worked with a number of them, and like Mortensen Group, they're wonderful people, and dentists are afraid of these guys, and Howard Ferran ranted on that in my podcast when he came on last time. But we don't need to be afraid of the corporate guys at all. It's something like the overwhelm, it's going in the direction of multiple locations, but you can own 2 locations. You don't have to be afraid of those guys taking you over. Something like 0.4% or 0.5% of all practices ever fail. Corporate dentistry is not going to run anybody out of business. In fact, all you have to do is figure out what is it they aren't bringing to the game, and do that, and you win. So it's an unfair game, and it's imbalanced in the direction of the people who want to own 1 or 2 or 3 practices. So I think regardless of who's doing this, it's going to be a fun game going forward. So what do you think that, what else do we need to know about how women are going to change the face of dentistry going forward?
Well, I think they're going to change companies also, because I think the
Oh,
ergonomics, I've heard a lot of that. I mean, I'm talking to so many women, and it's amazing how they feel that now that some of the companies in the past haven't listened to them. They have a different body, a different structure, different way of working than men. So that's one thing. Maybe smaller instruments, different kind of grips. I've heard a lot of these things. I think they're getting on the panels and in the companies to be able to help design different things for dentistry. So I think that's one of the things. And I also think that, it's funny, Chuck, one of the things that I think people don't also give much credit to is women love beauty. Now, men love beauty too, don't get me wrong. And, I love my husband. I'm married 43 years. I've got two amazing adult men and sons, I should say, and a daughter. But still, I'm just saying, I think that women love beautiful things. And so a beautiful smile, it makes a huge difference. And I think that they have this artistic, not always, but in general, when you think about it, they tend to go toward that versus men. So they're going to bring that to the party, the beauty of it. And especially the add-ons in the practice with, what women want. What do women want? And they are doing a lot with the facial anatomy, making women look younger through the smile, through all the different, injectables and all of that sort of stuff. That's going to be taking a big, I think, a big section of dentistry when women come into it. I really do. Well, I've noticed women dentists I've talked to.
And I would have to say that the dentists that I know who are the best dentists are great artists. Exactly. Whether they're men or women, I've just got a bunch of guys flashing through my head who are just great artists. They love the aesthetic, not just the function of it. And that's, and so we'll see more of that. Well, that's good. One of the things that going back to that 2 or 3 day a week thing, we work a lot with the idea of bringing people into the participation age, where everybody gets their brain back and everybody gets to work in a way that rehumanizes the workplace and allows them to be really happy at work. And one of the things I keep giggling about is the way that the U.S. government and economists, not just the government, but economists in general, are trying to interpret where the world is going. And they're using what Einstein used to say, things like the mind that created the problem is not the mind that will solve it. And we tend to look at the world based on where we've come from to figure out where it's going. I think Peter Drucker said that we're entering a period that only comes around every few hundred years or so, where people don't understand the world anymore, and the past is not sufficient to explain the present or the future. Mm-hmm. And yet we keep seeing it that way. So one of the things I'm getting to here is, as I think about not just women, but I think more men will do this as well, working 2 or 3 days a week and not being a slave to their practice. Right now, the economists are calling that the gigging economy. It's a put down. You drive for Uber, or you have an Airbnb, or you sell stuff on eBay. It's just a gig. It's a gig is something you do on Friday. You have a real job, and then on Friday night you go play sax in the bar. It's a gig. And it's a put down, and it's a lack of understanding of where I believe the world's going. We are just going back where we came from 175 years ago, before the factories made us work 5 days a week, 40 hours, 48 hours a week. We actually we're just taking control of our lives again. This is not the gigging economy. What you were talking about in the women coming in my mind, is a great example, and I'll use it going forward, of the permanent change back to where we came from. If I can take control of my life again, I will.
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially the new generation, the millennials, they have seen what their parents are going through, and then they see, is it really worth it? And it's not. A lot of times. It just seems like, I'm not going to do that. And the balance is so important. And I believe women probably allow themselves maybe a little more balance in these days because we need it. And so we're nurturers, and we nurture each other. So a lot of times when we're talking to each other, we're saying, oh, you need to like take a break, go take a bath, get a glass of wine, go read a book. You just need a break. And I think that again is going to influence the world of dentistry, just because it's not going to be that, hard charging push. They'll figure out a way to have a great practice, have a great life. And to what you do, Chuck, this is your mantra, I'm sure.
It's fundamental to my third book. I'm working on it right now. The working title is Rehumanizing the Workplace by Giving Everybody Their Brain Back. And this kind of stuff is just fundamental to that people want to have control over their lives again. And if they can, they will. And they can. And we're not understanding that well yet. The corporation is still set up in a bizarre way. I still remember 10 or so years ago, reading a little news story on two women who were pregnant, who had they were in the very same function in a company, working in the very same department, and they went to the boss and said, "Hey, when we have our babies, we're going to have them pretty much at the same time. How about if I work 20 hours a week and she works 20 hours a week, and you'll only have to hire one person?" And they said no.
Oh yeah, I know.
They said no, and even then, I'm 10 years ago, I'm thinking, are you nuts? You got two highly experienced, completely dedicated people, and if you gave them the opportunity to do this, they'd be loyal to you the rest of their lives. 12 years from now, 14 years from now, they're both going to come back full time. And they said no. One of the things that led me to 10 years ago, in fact, a little more than 10 years ago, is this mantra: time is the new money.
Oh, yes.
That, some people want to be paid in time. Give me half money and half time, and I'll be loyal the rest of my life. But no, we can't get our hands and our arms and our minds around that yet. That two women or two men or anybody together equals one great person.
How exciting would it be too to like start over in some regard with that mindset?
Yeah.
Versus getting and acquiring all this stuff that you have to pay for it. That stuff is on the back end, and the balance, the fun, the reward that you get just from doing a good job and doing well for your family. Because I mean, you can't have it all if you're so burnt out at work and under such hardship and stress. You can't function.
So are there any,
well,
I agree there. Are there any unique challenges that women would face in dentistry? I was mentioning before we started the practice I get my teeth done at. There's 3 women who are the dentists, and there's like 17 other women. It's all women, and they seem to be on cruise control. It seems to be working great. But is there anything unique that they're going to have to be looking at as women continue to get involved more in dentistry?
I'll tell you what I think we need. This is just, all of this is anecdotal, honestly, because sure. I don't have, other than just talking to women. Part of Do Life, Chuck, was to empower women in dentistry. So do they want to be empowered? And that's the question. Who wants to be a leader? We need female leaders, right? And so you were, to your point earlier, before we got on the call, and I find this very often, especially with Dental Entrepreneur, I'm always having, I hate to keep to the gender thing, because I don't mean to be like, I don't think of myself as a strong feminist. I feel like a cultural activist, so to speak, right? But I mean, men are always coming to me with articles. I get emails all the time. I've got an article for you. They want to write. They want to do this, all this stuff. Where are the women out there taking leadership on? And I think that is something, the desire to do that. Just because you've got leadership skills, you still have to find a way to carve a place in your life to take on leadership. And I think that's something that is going to be very important if we're going to see dentistry grow. If women are the graduates, the other thing, and this is bringing it up to me, one of the reasons I started this, I wanted women to love the profession, stay in the profession, because so many women I talk to hate it and they want to get out of it. Well, let's find a way for you, again, to love dentistry. It's a wonderful career. Yeah. You're helping people with their smile, and it's so the oral systemic connection of the mouth with the whole body and the whole well-being. So let's find a way to stay in it and love it, to the point where, like, I've been doing this for so long, and I still practice a half day a week. I practice hygiene every Tuesday morning, and I love it. I love my patients. I love my office, but I figured out a way to love it and then now give back is the best I can. So,
well, I think that's awesome. I think what you will be doing will be more empowering than anything. I've studied this a lot. In fact, there were 3 women's studies courses back in the 80s when I went to college. I took all 3 of them, and I was like one of, there were 400 people, me and one other guy, and one of the professors really started the seed thought for me on this, and that was she came across and said, the women's movement is completely missing it. And I said, what do you mean? She said, we do not need to be empowered by men. We don't need to be empowered. We're already empowered. You just need to get out of our way. And so I've developed from that engagement is 100% honest, but empowerment is all on the individual. It's like everybody comes to work as an acorn, and you can't add to their acornishness. All you can do is put black plastic over top of them and keep them from becoming a great oak tree where you're at. So you can keep them from using the power they have. You can take it away, but you can't give it to them. They've already got it. So we need to get out of their way. We need to release that. And so the mantra is that empowerment is the absence of the heavy hand. It's the absence of the black plastic over the seed. That's really what we need, is just to be able to say to both men and women, hey, you can do this. I got a guy in his 60s who was told he has to sell his practice and retire because that's what you do. And all of a sudden, because I told him, who made that rule? Yeah. He's starting all over again. He's wildly excited about expanding his practice and going into his 70s. And it's just, we need to release people from the stuff that held them back and the notions that keep us from moving ahead. So I love it. So where can people get a hold of you, and how can they benefit from what you guys are doing at Do Life and at Dental Entrepreneur?
Well, they can reach out. They can go. We have all the social media channels. We have dentalentrepreneur.com. Our publications are online there. And then do.life, DEW.life is our website and all of our social media channels. And that thing is growing. That thing is getting so big. When I started it, I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But it is becoming huge because we're kind of like rallying around each other.
So wrap a bow on it. So you're helping women, and you're helping the new dentists coming out of college as well.
Yeah, we've been publishing Dental Entrepreneur Business Beyond the Classroom for 20 years.
Yeah.
The need there, they don't have the business acumen in dental school. They don't have time for it, apparently. Right. So we decided to help them and learn.
Glad you do. Yeah, they need it. Well, thank you so much. This has been a joy. Ann Duffy, editor and publisher of Do Life and Dental Entrepreneur Magazine. Let's do it again. Thanks.
Thanks, Chuck.
If this podcast was helpful, please subscribe by computer or by phone, or connect with us at www.gottsummit.com, 2 T's, G-O-T-T summit.com. That stands for Get Off the Treadmill. We have those summits quarterly for dental practitioners only. Or connect with us at www.chuckblakeman.com, or email us at grow@cranksetgroup.com. Let's get off that treadmill. Let's get into the participation age. I look forward to seeing you in the next podcast. Thanks.